We are back, and we are joined now by Chris Smalls, former president of the Amazon Labor Union, founder of the Amazon Labor Union, who was recently released from an Israeli prison for his role in trying to block or break the blockade in Gaza as a member of the Freedom Flotilla Coalition. Chris, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yep, and I know you're on the go, so I really appreciate you taking the time to speak about your experience. Talk about your decision to go on the flotilla. I know this is the second flotilla in this iteration. The first one made news with Greta Thunberg on the on the flotilla. Why did you choose to try to break the blockade?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, well, for one thing, people thought that the Madeleine with Greta was the first flotilla. That was actually mission number 36. The Hundella was mission number 37. This initiative has been happening since 2008. And the goal is not to deliver humanitarian aid, but to absolutely break the illegal siege that Israel has imposed before October 7 for over 2 decades. Controlling what goes in and out of the borders, including food and medicine and prosthetic parts, which we were carrying. I chose to go on there as an American labor leader, of course, as you mentioned, for founding the Amazon Labor Union. American tax that's killing 500,000 Palestinians in less than 2 years. I wanted to definitely spread awareness about that, but also connect the dots. You know, Amazon is not only participating in the genocide. They invested $7.2 billion into Project Nimbus, which is essentially the Iron Dome for the IOF. And these labor unions in America for the last 21 months have been shipping arms to Israel every 15 months and manufacturing weapons. They passed 0 resolutions, and they're not only participating, they are complicit as well, and they had the blood on their hands as well.
I've heard some of your critiques of the longshoremen and other labor leaders that have not stepped up to oppose this genocide. Can you expand a little bit on your critique there and why you felt it was important to connect the dots with labor and organized labor and the genocide of Palestinians?
Well, for number one, I read an article not too long ago where there was some type of a meeting amongst some of the labor unions, and they audacity of them to say that the Palestinian liberation is outside the scope of labor, which is insane for them to say when they say injury to one, injury to all. That doesn't exclude Palestinian lives. And for the Palestinians, their trade movement has been a part of their resistance since the first Nakba. You know, they always had trade unions involved in humanitarian aid or just civilian life. I've been fortunate enough to meet plenty of Palestinian presidents for trade unions. My sister, Susan Salam, that's based in Jerusalem, the Palestinian president for women. And I know for a fact that working class issues, this is hand in hand. It doesn't mean that we exclude people because they're Palestinian. It's ridiculous. And that's something that's really shocking that's coming from, you know, institutions and unions who once stood on the right side of history when they went up against the apartheid in South Africa.
And how did it come together for you to get on the flotilla? And if you could just speak about how long you were sailing and what it was like when, you know, how you prepared for what you would imagine was an inevitable, likely Israeli interception of the flotilla, and what it was like when they boarded the ship to take you all into custody.
So for me, I was, from my journeys around the world, I've been in company with some of the folks that were on the Madeleine. And I was able to get in contact with the co-founder of the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, Hueda, who actually, this was her ninth time aboard the flotilla. She also survived the 2010 massacre when Israeli forces jumped on board and and killed 10 of the volunteers. So yeah, I had a phone call. I had 24 hours really to make a decision, and I didn't hesitate. I knew that it was an important initiative, and I think the time is now, and that's how I was able to get on board. And we spent some time training, of course, before we set sail. So we spent about 2 days in Syracuse, Italy. Then we sailed to Gallipoli. We did some more training with other volunteers and other coalitions. And then we set sail, which was about 7 days on the Mediterranean. And it was very, very difficult at first. We had to make adjustments, of course. 21 volunteers on a small fishing vessel that was built from 1968. It's not an easy journey. And, people I know are excited. They want to get on the next one because of the things that we accomplished. Even if we didn't make it, we definitely inspired people to get involved. And, I just say this, though, to my comrades who want to do it, it's not meant for everybody. I don't think that anybody should have to do what we have done, which is put our lives on the line, not knowing if we can make it back home or not. And when they aborted, they onboarded the Hundela, just like the Madeleine. They come in the middle of the night. They cut communications off. We had to ride with them for about 12 hours to the port of Ashad, which is the immigration authorities. And that's when things got violent with me. They handed over everybody to the authorities, and I was met with a violent attack from 7 authorities. I was thrown to the ground. Uh, they put their knee in my back. They twisted my arms behind my back, and they had 3 guys on each side levitate me while one was pulling my hair and using my chains to choke me. So, I experienced something that the other passengers and volunteers didn't. And I know from my own personal experience dealing with the authorities out there that there's no way people can tell me otherwise, that this wasn't blatantly designed by race, bigotry, or hatred for people of color. But there's no way people could tell me that Palestinians can live peaceful amongst the Israeli regime when they have such a hatred that I've never experienced in America in my life.
Well, you were the only, I believe, from reading, black person on the flotilla of, over 20 folks who were trying to deliver aid, and it appears that they singled you out, right? I mean, that's what you're saying, and brutalized you in particular for that reason. I heard you on Democracy Now! Mentioning they were saying some horrible things to you as well. What else happened during your time in detention, and how long were you in an Israeli prison?
I was there for 5 days. I was one of the last to leave, and not only did I experience this total racism, but my brother Hassan from Tunisia, who's also a person of color, he's Arab. Um, we both were the last to leave. They could have sent us home on any given day, um, but they chose to save us for last because they also were not just trying to physically abuse me; they were trying to psychologically abuse me as well, and also with the others as well. They knew that we were on a hunger strike, so they pretty much was weaponizing food by trying to give it to us, knowing that we wouldn't take it. They even brought the warden in and set food in front of us. They even raided us twice with the raid unit for no reason, made us strip, and it's just some of the things they did and said were just disgusting. I've never once again experienced any type of hatred like that on any level in my 37 years in America. And as far as me being singled out, they definitely passed along the message from the IOF because I did give them a piece of my mind. I took a long journey out there, and I definitely told the IOF to their faces that without those guns and weapons, they're nothing. They're nothing but peons, and they're scum because these are killing machines that have no remorse and they think they're doing something notable. And I definitely gave them a piece of my mind on the way out.
I mean, that's the other thing that is just like I can't wrap my mind around is what goes through the heads of these people who are clearly immensely brainwashed, but it's also a deeply racist society that encourages that racism as a part of like education, the militarism, and even in of course their treatment of you. And you can see how there's a reason that Mandela showed solidarity with the Palestinians throughout his life, for example, because the struggle of anti-racism is indelibly connected to the Palestinian liberation cause.
Absolutely. And I, even though I experienced what I did, it's still just a fraction and a glimpse of what Palestinians have to go through, not even close. And that's even more shocking. And one more thing is that I could tell you that the average age of the commandos that onboarded the Hundela, they might have been 20 years old, 21 years old.
Yeah.
They were young kids. And they definitely were brainwashed, and it was sad to see that they could be any average college kid walking around.
And you are an American, obviously. Did you have fears that the Trump administration, for example, would just say, "See you later"? You know, like it's immensely brave for you to be doing this, in part because like this administration clearly would not have your back, it appears, if the Israeli government put its foot down.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I knew when I signed up for. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to count on this administration, and they proved me right. The embassy did not show up. You know, everybody else's embassy showed up for them in person.
Wow.
To check on their well-being, to make sure that they were safe. And ours didn't. I spoke to the consulate over the phone. He never showed up in person. That was at the port of authorities, and he promised my safety, but this was already after I'd been assaulted, so he failed already. So it was just a shame to see and take note that our U.S. embassy, once again, our taxpaying dollars is going towards a government and administration that don't really care about Americans at all. It was 7 of us. We were 1/3 of the crew.
Lastly, Chris, because I know you've got to run. What I know that you mentioned some folks on the flotilla who want to go back. What can people in our audience do to help your comrades on the flotilla, other efforts to break the blockade? And what would your message be to our audience about some of the efforts to try to put pressure on Israel in this way?
Yeah, I would just say what I mentioned before. You know, it's not meant for everybody to do. We shouldn't have to do it. I honestly encourage everybody to fight in their own way. You know, everybody has a lane to fulfill and a role to play. And whether it's protesting, whether it's demonstrating, if you want to do direct action, sure. But once and foremost, we just got to keep the people of Palestine and the people of Gaza foremost. We have to keep their stories and keep the hope alive for them. Right now, what we're seeing is so inhumane. As a father, as a civilian, as an American taxpaying citizen, we all need to be outraged, and we need to hold these government officials accountable, along with these entities like the labor unions and the corporations as well.
Chris Smalls, founder, former president of the Amazon Labor Union, recently released from an Israeli prison where he was abused. He was trying to break the blockade in Gaza with the Freedom Flotilla Coalition. Chris, thanks so much for coming on the show today and taking the time.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.